This is Bittersweet Me by REM from their album New Adventures in Hi-Fi, which is going to make an appearance later on in today's episode of Dylan Knows. Hello and welcome to a brand new episode of Dylan Knows, my second in it's May days. I did my last one on Monday, Labor Day, and today is Saturday, September 11th, 2021. A solemn day today across the United States. It is the 20th anniversary of the 9/11 attacks that happened September 11th, 2001. Today's episode will discuss that a little bit, as well as a whole bunch of trailers and anniversaries, and we have moving. My 8-year anniversary, which I'm going to talk about probably next week, but I'll just give you a heads up about that. Mountain Dew pops up, as does the Peacock Network. Some new movie ideas, TV show stuff, video games, all kinds of usual stuff that you're used to with this nonsense here. And the Baltimore Ravens, my football team, has suffered some more crippling things, but they seem to have recovered quite easily. We'll find out sooner than later. And NFL football has started. We'll be talking all about that today in today's episode of Dylan Knows, episode 408. It was a beautiful sunny day. I guess let's talk about that real quick. It is September 11th. Actually, right now it is 3:51 p.m. on Saturday, September 11th. So the majority of the attacks happened already. So by now it was just more along the lines of recovery, people trying to get home, learn about loved ones and stuff like that. So it's not very. It was at that time. Now it was after the initial shock of stuff. I shouldn't say initial shock of stuff, the initial wave of events that happened on September 11th, and now it's just sort of recovery aspect to it. So let's talk about that today. It was 20 years ago on this date, September 11th, 2001, was a Tuesday. It was a wonderfully dawned as a wonderfully gorgeous, beautiful, absolutely stunning day, which lots of potential and promise. It was blue skies, where I was anyway, blue skies, sunny skies. Temperature was around where it is today. Right now it's about 72, 73 temperatures, 72, 73 degrees today here. And so same thing happened on September 11, 2001. I had just about a month earlier, I had just moved into my first apartment with my girlfriend, who later became my lovely wife. It was our first time living together, and we'd only been living together for about a month. I was working at Rainforest Cafe at Towson Town Center when it was still there. My manager was just promoted to manager a few weeks before the events of September 11th, and she was actually in Texas going through training, and she was supposed to be on her way back within the next day or so, I think. So I was being the de facto assistant manager, since we were the most senior people working in the Rainforest Cafe Retail Village. I was the acting manager at that time. Now, Tuesdays was always a fun day for me because even though I was a acting assistant manager, I was manager of our stock room, and I was the one that helped maintain it, fixed it, changed it up after the initial changeover to make things more accessible and easier to find. And Tuesday was always our delivery day. Every Tuesday we get a delivery of new stuff or items that we needed to restock, stuff that we desperately needed from stuff that was selling really well. So we were getting that in there. So I was looking forward to that because that was always a fun day because I would not have to be out front dealing with customers. I'd be in the back unloading the skid, putting stuff away, counting it in to make sure we got everything properly. And that was a fun part. Plus, Tuesdays were also a good day because that was when the new DVDs came out down at Suncoast Video, so I could go check out. I forgot because of everything that happened, I forgot what was supposed to come out that day on DVD. But it was always Tuesday was always a good day for me. So I was the opening manager right now, and then I was gonna work out in the shop until I got my delivery, and then once my person who was coming to assist me would come into the shop, I would go in the back and start handling the aspects there. So, as I said, at the time I was riding my Honda, my 2000 Honda, and I was not listening to the radio. I had a CD player in there, and I was listening to CDs, probably even that REM album, possibly. That I just talked about. We'll talk about later on in the show. And just driving in, and I don't usually I didn't check the weather or the news or anything before I left. So I was totally oblivious to what was happening. But another key thing we need to talk about is my girlfriend, who became my wife. She was getting her master's down at University of Maryland, which is halfway between Washington, D.C. and Baltimore. So she was on her way down there during this time period. My brother-in-law and my aunt both worked at the FBI building in Washington, D.C. My aunt was an FBI agent working anti-terrorism, ironically enough. And my brother-in-law was an analyst. He was focused more on organized crime, but he was also working in the Washington building down there. And that comes to play a little later, too. And I can get to that in a little bit. So I pull into the parking lot and I go into Rainforest, and I hear my first inkling of something going on was I'm walking through the gated, we're closed, we're not open yet, part of the store, and the custodian guy is cleaning stuff, and he's talking to someone on a phone or something like that about something weird. I wasn't paying much attention, but it sounded like something was going on that I didn't know, but I didn't really pay much attention to it. Just sort of caught my attention for a second, but then I just said it must be something that I have nothing to do with it. It's something personal with him and this other person. So I moved on, and then I got into the back of the shop where we had a TV, and I was getting the till ready, and the TV was on, and then I was hearing about what was going on. So watched the TV. It was the footage of, believe the first tower being hit, I think. And that was the first thing I saw about it. And we were talking about it a little bit, and then I think we saw the second tower get hit. I'm trying to remember. It's kind of vague about that. But in the end, I went back to put the till in the shop because we had to get ready to open. And so I didn't know what was going on. A lot of people were all questioning what was happening. We were hearing different things we didn't know what was going on. We had to open, though, because the mall was opening. Luckily, there was a Radio Shack down the hallway right near us, one of our neighbors, actually. And they had their displays of TVs all turned on to the news. So we could periodically pop out and check and see what was going on. People would be coming in and telling us what was happening and stuff like that. And we go down and check it out. And then I think we heard about the Washington, the Pentagon getting hit. I think that happened, and we went down there and checked on that. And then I think we really started to panic then. There was also talk that there was a car bomb that had gone off outside of the FBI building, which scared me more because my brother-in-law and my aunt were working at that building as well. So that freaked me out a little bit. And now that we've had 3 planes and that there's a potential for a 4th that was at the time not located yet, that we were all thinking that, well, what else could happen? Could maybe all the planes be getting hijacked, and could one possibly crash land on 95, where my wife was driving back from University of Maryland back up to her job in Hunt Valley, because she would do her master's in the morning, then go and work at her job for the afternoon. And so I was worried about that, worried about my brother-in-law, and worried about my aunt. And then we heard about the 4th one that landed in Pennsylvania that was headed, I think people are now saying, believed to be the Capitol. It was either that or the White House. Those were the 2 rumors, that there was a plane heading for the White House or the Capitol. Wasn't sure which one it was. The president at the time was George W. Bush. He was in Florida doing stuff, so he wasn't in the White House. The Capitol probably would have been the better target because that is our government for the most part, and they might have known that the president was not in the White House, so that really wouldn't have been as much as a affront as if it hit the Capitol building. So I believe that it was supposedly headed for the Capitol. It was Flight 93. And that ended up the people on board that plane overthrew the terrorists, and they crashed it into Pennsylvania farmland. So they say they did. So by that time, the mall, and we still had no idea what was going to happen. All this stuff was going on, and then the buildings started to collapse and all kinds of stuff going on. So people were starting to really freak out a lot all over, not knowing what was going to happen because it seemed like an all-out attack. Would there be other attacks? Could there be some getting ready to hit us? Could airplanes be flying into the mall? So Towson Center decided they were going to shut down the mall for the day. And luckily, my delivery came just about a half hour before we were going to shut down. So I was able to get it off the truck and into Rainforest Cafe before I vacated and got out of there. My manager, my friend who was the manager, she was now stuck in Texas because no air flight had been canceled due to not knowing the terrorist attacks and how many planes have been infiltrated and stuff like that. And I remember just driving home, and my mom was trying to contact me, and she was freaking out because of my brother-in-law and my aunt. And I'd heard later on that the car bomb outside the FBI building was not real. It was a fake story, so it still didn't. It still was a problem. And at that time, also, as soon as the plane hit the Pentagon, my aunt was called in to do the investigation of it. She was a member of the investigative team to do that. So she was on her way over the Pentagon literally right after all this happened. So she was going to be there with the dead bodies and the fires and stuff like that. She had to be careful. That was her job. They had to get the crime scene down to try to figure out all kinds of stuff. So that's what happened with that. And then got home, and luckily, I think they closed down my wife's company as well. So she was on her way back from Maryland. She just came right home, and we just ended up, watching the stuff on the news. We saw the stuff that was happening, and it was quite a day. Now, I learned later on that my wife's aunt was supposed to be on one of those planes, like the first or second, I think the second one to hit the World Trade Center. But her company decided to stay because she was on her way out to a conference or something out west, and the company told her that they were going to go a little later in the day or something like that because it was been the time had been changed. Just before all this went down, the time had been changed so that she didn't have to go at that time. She'd go at a later flight, stuff like that. So she could have been on one of those planes that hit. So that was 20 years ago. And it started a chain reaction of stuff that happened the next couple of years after that. I remember during that time period, we had the anthrax scare where members of Congress were getting sent packages of anthrax. I remember we also had the sniper, which really affected us mostly in the 95 corridor a couple years later. And it was just this whole built up fear aspect that kept going for a few years. And then our disastrous foray into Iraq. We shouldn't have gone into Iraq. And the never ending until recently, the Afghanistan attack as well. So there was a lot of stuff happening during that period. And I was 28 years old. Luckily, also, there was some good stuff under that time. I got married 2 years later in 2003. So we were still, 2 years removed from 9/11, but still it was a big deal. So, yeah, a lot of stuff to unpack and do. But that is my, because everybody seems to be doing one, that is my 9/11 remembrance. As I said, my brother-in-law was fine. My aunt ended up, I like to call it my aunt, the terrorist magnet, because she was in New York in '92 when the World Trade Center was first hit with the car bomb in the garage. She had to investigate that. Then she came down to D.C., had to deal with the Pentagon thing in 2001, and then soon after that, she went up to Boston, where she had the shoe bomber that she had to deal with also. So I called her the terrorist man. She's now retired. She's no longer a member of the FBI right now, but she's a former member of the FBI. But she stayed with the FBI for her whole career. My brother-in-law was unceremoniously removed from his position in the FBI 3 or 4 years ago. Long story. We're not going to discuss it right now. But he's now helping teach special ed kids in high school. So that's a good thing, and it's a good thing on him too. So that is my 9/11 remembrance. 20 years ago today. Seen lots of tributes. I remember there was like a documentary that my wife and I would watch that they would air every 9/11, which showed basically like an oral view of 9/11. Basically, they had different takes of the attacks. They had different people who had made videotapes who lived near the attacks and saw the stuff, or people who lived on the ground were videotaping stuff, and people in Washington who were videotaping stuff, and people in Pennsylvania who were visiting and stuff like that. And they concocted it into a timeline where they showed everything going on, included with additional regular news footage as well. So it was kind of interesting, and it's sad, and we lost over 3,000 people, I guess, rounding up. But considering how bad things have gotten since then, it's the last time maybe we felt the closest together. I don't know. And even then, I'm starting to question that now, because recently I've been, I always thought that was the one time soon after 9/11 that Democrats and Republicans put aside their differences and we became the United States of America. And then I've been reminded that soon after that, Arab kids were getting attacked, even though they had nothing to do with it, because of stuff like that. So we might have been united, but we weren't embracing our Arab kin because of what happened, and that was not acceptable. And that's sort of what spiraled into where we are now, which I don't really want to get into right now because I don't want to get upset again. So that's my story. And there's that. What If is the new Disney thing. To me, What If hasn't been must-see TV like the other shows have been, because they're pretty much one and dones. They're still entertaining, but they're not, in the long run, they're not really going to have an effect on the MCU proper. But so far, they've released 5 episodes. There's 9 total. And the first one probably was the weakest of them all, is the Captain Carter one, which is a great premise to have. I always mix up. It's not Sharon. Sharon is the one that was later on. That's the one I always remember. But the Captain Carter, I forget what her. This is killing me. I always hate this. That I forget which Carter is which. Let's see. Captain Carter. Let's just type that in there. Let's see if we can get Peggy. I always forget that it's Peggy Carter. So Peggy Carter, the what if on that one was, what if Peggy Carter became or was injected with the super soldier serum instead of Steve Rogers? Basically, why I was disappointed with it is due to the fact that it was just basically a rewrite of the Captain America movie, but with Peggy as Captain America. Now, they did save some stuff. Bucky never got kidnapped by the bad guys and never turned into the Winter Soldier, but still. And Steve was given the first Iron Man suit by Tony Stark's father, who was in the super soldier business as well. So those were like the two key differences. And then in the end, that Red Skull was actually trying to open up a portal to another dimension instead of using it to win the war or make Hydra take over or whatever. So those were some of the differences, but it just seemed to me like a rewrite of the Captain America First Avenger movie, and because it had, spoiler alert, the end had Captain Carter get sucked into the portal and then sucked back out into present day, where Hawkeye and Nick Fury were waiting for her to join the Avengers. So that was the first episode. The second episode so far is still my favorite of them all. And that one was What If T'Challa, Black Panther, was kidnapped by Yondu and the Marauders and became Star-Lord. And that was a really, really funny one. It starts off with the beginning of Guardians of the Galaxy, but instead it was more of a T'Challa who wanted to get abducted and wanted to see the world because he felt suffocated by his father, and soon became the Bastion of Peace, including appearances by Thanos, who Star-Lord was able to talk down from genocide, and other stuff. And it created its own storyline that gave a bigger look at Benicio del Toro's The Collector, which was a really good story, but it was still one of my favorites. It's still probably my favorite one of all of them. The third one, I guess I was colored by Peter David's tweet, or rather Facebook post, where he did not like how it ended, that the ending sort of came out of nowhere, which it kind of did. But in the end itself, it was a fairly entertaining one, except for Coulson seemed a little bit too flighty in this one. But that one was basically, what if the Avengers were, killed before they became the Avengers? And that was an interesting whodunit, which focused mostly on Black Widow and Nick Fury. So that was an interesting look at things as well. So, but I think I'm going to have to maybe rewatch that one, because as I said, I was colored by Peter David's hatred of the ending, and I saw it, and the ending just did seem kind of out of nowhere, but it was still pretty good, and I kind of enjoyed it. The next one, the fourth one, was what if Doctor Strange lost his heart instead of his hands? Basically, his girlfriend in the movie, what if she came with him to his fateful, event that he was going to, where he got into the car accident where it was just him and his hands were ruined, and to get him back, he became the Sorcerer Supreme. In this case, it was what if she died in the car accident, and he eventually tried to find a way to bring her back, finding himself learning the ways of the Sorcerer Supreme and taking over the Time Stone, and using that to basically do a Groundhog Day, where he tried to save her in all different kinds of ways, but she always ended up dying because it was a permanent spot in time. You could not change it, unchangeable point in time, that this death could never be changed, no matter how much you tried. And that caused him to revert to the dark side and take on dark magic, and ended up saving her, but in the end destroyed the whole universe. So that was kind of a downer one, but it was entertaining somewhat. Dark ending to it. And then the one that came out this week was the one that everybody was looking at, is what it was basically always called as What If Zombies. Marvel Zombies was a series of comics that came out right around the time The Walking Dead popularity started to skyrocket, around the second, third season. And they decided to do a Marvel Zombies comic, and that became hugely popular as well. So they decided to adapt that for What If. I read a review that really, really didn't like it. I was like, wow, why not? It was actually really entertaining, focusing on the events of Infinity War as it taking place. And again, like, it had a, kind of a surprise ending, much like all the what ifs do, because that's what ifs are. They're supposed to have an ending that is like the Twilight Zone, where you're like, whoa, wait a second, we need to see what happens. And it doesn't. It doesn't come through that way. So I think the only one that didn't really have that was the second episode, because the first episode ended with Captain Carter in present day. The third one ended with Loki taking over the Earth because there were no Avengers. That was a good one also. The fourth one, oh, no, I'm sorry. No. There was. The second one did have a twist ending. I just remembered it. Was one where the actual Star-Lord, who was never kidnapped by the Marauders, just grew up and was working at that same sort of Dairy Queen where his father Ego and his wife, and his mother, I should say, consummated the relationship, had Ego coming to take him to learn about his powers. And since he didn't have the whole Star-Lord thing, he probably does have the powers of Ego, and is probably going to become a bad Mamba Jamba. So that's right, that did happen. So they all did have twist endings. The third one was Loki took over the Earth. The fourth one was Doctor Strange destroyed the universe. I mean, literally nothing was left of the universe. And then this one had zombie Thanos with the Infinity Gauntlet looking forward for the Soul Stone, looking to try to grab the Soul Stone, which is the cure for the zombification of that universe. So kind of an interesting take on things. I don't know what the next 4 episodes are. I know there's going to be a Thor-centric one coming up eventually, but it's interesting to see the voice cast that you do have. You pretty much get all the main actors coming back, except for you haven't got Chris Evans or Scarlett Johansson or Robert Downey Jr. or Tom Holland. Those are the only ones that I can think of off the top of my head that did not reprise their roles. I really think that was Michael Douglas who voiced Hank Pym in the third one, because it really sounded a heck of a lot like him. It might not have been him. That's the thing. But you also had Kurt Russell come in as Ego. I don't think Chris Pratt does the voice for Star-Lord, so he only had like one line, and it didn't sound like Chris Pratt, so I don't think it was Chris Pratt. But I mean, you had Benedict, you had both Benedict Cumberbatch and Benedict Wong do their characters. You had Haley Atwell was able to do Captain Carter, and you got the actor who played Young, I forget his name right now, Young Howard Stark came back and did his voice. And of course, everyone knows that this was Black Panther. Oh, God. Give me a second because my mind isn't working right now. Chadwick. That's right. Chadwick did the voice. He's done the voice of Black Panther a few times in the series. This is his last work as that. We had Paul Rudd and Evangeline Lilly voice both Ant-Man and the Wasp in this past episode we just got. We have Denai do her character from Black Panther as well, did the voice of her character too. We have Mark Ruffalo do the voice of the Hulk. So you've got you got Jon Favreau doing the voice of Happy Hogan. So you've got most of the actors who are portraying the roles in live action doing the voices as well. And that's a good thing. I kind of like that idea. So that's my takes on What If. Last week I told you that Shang-Chi surprised everybody and won the box office, actually became the best Labor Day weekend box office in forever, and the fact that it happened during a pandemic is even more outstanding. And because the fact that it proved that people are still be willing to go out to see movies in movie theaters, because Shang-Chi was a straight up movie theaters only event, that it was going to affect how things go. As I said, if it did not make enough money, it might have pushed the Eternals out of this year and into next year, or moved it further back to December, something like that. It could cause other high-profile films to move their dates as well. I think the James Bond one was another one that has been kept getting moved over and over again. It should come out in 2019, I think. No, it's supposed to be out in 2020, early 2020, but didn't. It was supposed to come out right when the pandemic started in 2020. And it is now due to come out October 8th. I saw a trailer for it. It still says October 8th, so they're just going to say, hell with it. We're just going to release it now. But they have moved a lot of movies around because of this. But because Shang-Chi was successful, there was one movie that decided, hey, this is actually a good sign. So Venom 2, which was due to come out on October 15th, has now been moved to October 1st. So it moved up 2 weeks. due to the fact that Shang-Chi did as well as it did in theaters. So the creators of the show are just like, yeah, I think we can do this. And it'll be good. So they went ahead and did that. Now, people are still changing movies to later time frames. I'll talk to you about one later on down the line. Or is it on this page right here? Yep, no, it is. Furiosa, the prequel to that Mad Max movie, Fury Road. That's, I guess, either filming right now or just finished up filming. Was not actually supposed to be due out till 2023 for whatever reason, June 2023. They're really going to push it far away. They've now pushed it even further to Memorial Day 2024. So a full 3 years from now is when you're going to see Furiosa, which doesn't really make a lot of sense because if they're filming it now, and let's just say it takes a year to film, so you're done by 2022, and I guess they were looking for a year to edit, I guess, because of special effects and all that stuff. I don't think a movie like that probably would take a long time to edit, but I don't know. That would have made it the June 2023 window, but now they've moved to another year to May of 2024. So I don't know. We'll see what happens. 11/19. November 19th will be when the live action Cowboy Bebop will arrive on Netflix. I don't know if they revealed that date when they showed the behind the scenes pictures that I talked about last week, but this was a update on when it's supposed to come out. So 11/19/21. A movie that's still scheduled to come out in December that we have not seen anything of. And they decide, hey, we may as well release the trailer now because we only got a few months before it actually comes out. Not Spider-Man. We did that last week. This week was Matrix 4, Matrix Resurrections. So the first Matrix 4 trailer came out this week, and it did not disappoint, actually. It looks to me, if you watch the trailer, it looks to me like it's going to be a soft reboot. Keanu's got his now trademark beard, John Wick beard, which he seems to prefer in all of his movies now. But to me, I kept thinking that it's John Wick as the Matrix. But it also seems like that Neo has forgotten who he was and was back in the Matrix. And it looks like it is a soft reboot with the characters trying to remember who they are and what's going on. And we get visions of, the agents and young Morpheus and all kinds of stuff. So we'll see where all this is going, but it looks stunning as the original Matrix did. Lily Wachowski, one of the original Wachowski directors of the Matrix trilogy, is doing it by herself without her sister, but she is doing it. But a Wachowski is involved, so that is a good sign as well. It looks good. It looks exciting, and it's got me a little bit more excited for it than I really was when I first heard about it. So we'll see that continue. So that's fun. Speaking of expected trailers to see, we're finally next week, supposedly according to Disney Plus, we are going to see the first of the Hawkeye trailers coming out, just to show you the first look at what that's going to be. When that, for those who don't know, the Hawkeye show is going to be coming out the day before Thanksgiving. It's like the 23rd, 24th of November, something like that. So we've got that coming up. Actually, so the 19th is a Friday, I guess, 20, 21, 22, like the 24th, something like that, of November is when it's the day before Thanksgiving. So, but we'll be getting the first footage supposedly of Hawkeye next week. So we'll probably be talking about that on next week's show. Speaking of next week's show will also be my anniversary show. As I did take a little sabbatical during the summer, my episodes do not match up with where it's supposed to be, but I'm not even concerned that anymore because as of September 15th, 2021, which is in 5 days. Today's 11th, 11th to 12th, 12th the 13th, 13th, 4 days. It's Wednesday. I will have been doing this show for 8 years. 8 years. So we'll talk a little bit more about that, as well as probably discussing the Hawkeye stuff. Next week also will be an interesting one because I will be solo single again because my wife and kids will be going camping for their first fall camping experience in a while. They haven't gone camping in a few months, so it'd be good to get them back out and get them moving into a camping zone with the Scouts. So they'll be gone next weekend, which will be kind of a nice weekend for me to just get caught up on stuff that I like to do: movies, read comics, books, play Fortnite, whatever. Something like that. Speaking of that, Fortnite, tomorrow, Sunday, the 12th, at 4 p.m. Eastern Time, Fortnite will be having its live event to finish this flying saucer season. It's called Operation Skyfire, and it is a live event. And they say as soon as the live event is over, we will have 8 hours at least of downtime, which puts the new season of Fortnite rolling in on Monday, the 13th. So fans of Fortnite, looking forward to that. The Pokemon Go aspect of things, I've been screaming over the last 3 or 4 years that a community day in October should be a ghost type, and they've never done a ghost type community day on Pokemon Go until now. October 9th, 2021 will be Duskull Community Day, which is a ghost type Pokemon. So we finally are getting our first ever ghost type community day during October. This past week was Star Trek Day, September 8th, 2021. Star Trek came out 55 years ago on that date, September 8th, 1966. So Star Trek is 55 years old this year. So they celebrate Star Trek Day on the 8th of September. And as usual, they release all kinds of, it was a very kind of a quiet Star Trek day this year, but they did release a new trailer for Picard Season 2, which has Q in it, as we all know, but it also, we get a better idea now that the Picard and his crew are going to be sent back in time to 2021. So it'd be interesting to see Picard and his crew running around in our present day. So that'll be fun. Plus, I think November 18th, Star Trek Discovery, new season returns on November 18th. So those are the two big stories out of Star Trek Day. September 9th, 9/9, was Brooklyn Nine-Nine Day. It was supposed to be the final episode ever of Brooklyn Nine-Nine. Was supposed to air on 9/9/21, but stupid football had to start their season on that day. On NBC was airing it, so Brooklyn Nine-Nine's final two episodes, which is a two-parter, will air next week on the 16th, and that's the end of Brooklyn Nine-Nine. Brooklyn Nine-Nine is a show that I had seen my friends talking about for the longest time, but never really got into. I read the descriptions and Wikipedia of all of the episodes, so I got a general idea of what was going on. I watched some of the videos from YouTube, and I really kind of got into it. But then my daughter started seeing some of these memes and stuff like that, and she really wanted to get involved with it. So I bought a collection of the first 6 seasons of Brooklyn Nine-Nine on Blu-ray, and then bought the 7th season when it was released. And we binge watched everything just before the new season, the season 8 started. So we've been able to get caught up on season 8. We bought the season pass off of Amazon so we can watch the shows the day after they air without commercials. So we've been doing that. It's been to me, it's been kind of a weak season to end their thing, but they have some moments here and there. But the show itself is one of my absolute favorites, has definitely skyrocketed to my list of top 5 shows of all time that I love. So there's that. So that happened this week as well. On September 5th, 2021, we celebrated the 80th anniversary of what many consider to be the greatest film of all time, Citizen Kane, which came out on September 5th, 1941. Crazy. So that was good. As I said, football took over the 9-9 slot on NBC. It was the defending world champion Tampa Bay Buccaneers taking on the Dallas Cowboys. It turned out to be a very interesting game, and the final score was Tampa Bay barely beating Dallas 31-29. Tom Brady and Dak Prescott combined threw for over 700 yards. So it should be interesting. That was the beginning of this football season. Should be an interesting season to begin with. The majority of football games come out, NFL games come out tomorrow on opening Sunday. The only ones that do not have a game tomorrow are my Baltimore Ravens and the Las Vegas Raiders, because they are the only team this year that gets a Monday night slot. So they get to kick off Monday Night Football with a Ravens at Las Vegas to open up Las Vegas's new stadium. This is Las Vegas's second year in the league, but the first year to allow fans, and it's a brand new stadium. So no wonder it became the Monday game. So I won't be able to enter. I might decide to watch some football tomorrow, but instead I probably won't. I'll probably just keep doing them. I'll probably be getting myself psyched up for the Fortnite event, stuff like that. Keep an eye on the scores and stuff like that, which I always do because of fantasy. But other than that, won't really have my full attention until Monday. Now, the Ravens, when last I talked to you, they lost J.K. Dobbins, their key running back, to a torn ACL, which is a done for the season injury. And we're like, okay, that's okay. We got Gus Edwards and we have Justice Hill and Lamar, so we should be okay. And we're starting to get healthy again, so things could all get good. Well, this week, over a span of 2 days, everything changed again. Early this week, Justice Hill went down, also with an ACL tear, also out for the season. The next day, Gus Edwards, another running back, so that would be 3 running backs, and Marcus Peters, our stud corner, also both went down with ACL tears on back-to-back plays. First, it was Gus tearing his ACL, and then Marcus tearing his. So in the span of about 12 days, the Ravens have lost 3 running backs and a corner. And the games start, their first game is in 2 days. So what did they do? Well, to cover for J.K. Dobbins before all the other stuff, the Justice Hill and the Gus Edwards stuff happened, the Ravens picked up Le'Veon Bell off of the trash heap. He was Pittsburgh's stud running back for the longest time, but sat out a season due to a contract issue and then got traded to the Kansas City Chiefs, where he didn't do all that much. And then Kansas City released him, and so he's been sort of just jumping around waiting to try an opportunity. We put him on the practice squad because he was not on a team to do any training camp, so he needs to get in football shape. So we stashed him on the practice squad. He'll practice, he'll get into shape, he'll probably would have started in about 2 or 3 weeks from now, but was not going to be starting opening day. Now who knows what's going to happen because of all this other stuff. Now once Gus Edwards and Justice Hill went down, they also got a released running back from Carolina named Trenton Cannon, who is a young guy who does not have the pedigree of a Le'Veon Bell, but is a good solid back. So we got him and we signed him to our 53-man roster because he did have a full training camp. So he's in football shape. He just needs to learn the new schemes and the new plays, and that shouldn't take too long. But once Gus Edwards and Justice Hill went down, they needed more help because they needed more bodies. So there were 2 other veteran running backs who had been released or cut as well. Devonta Freeman and Latavius Murray, both of whom I wanted Latavius Murray more than anything. We got them both. So both Latavius Murray and Devonta Freeman are now Ravens. Devonta Freeman is on the practice squad because I think he, like Le'Veon Bell, did not have a team, so did not have any training camps. So he needs to get into shape. Latavius Murray was in the Saints was on the Saints training camp, so he's pretty much set again. So I would assume you're going, and then we have our regular guy, which I can't think of his name right now, the new kid that's still healthy. He's going to be playing. I would assume that Latavius Murray will be playing as well, and Trenton Cannon will probably be playing as well, since they're all in football shape. So we'll see how that rolls out on Monday. No new corner, because we actually have some depth at corner. So, but our depth is starting to show now. If another corner goes down, then we're going to have to find another corner. So we have next man up, who's going to be okay, and we'll keep going. It's not going to do Marcus Peters stuff, but it's still good enough that I'm comfortable with him being back there. So that's Averett. So it should be an interesting season, but the fact that the Ravens lost 3 running backs within 12 days to the same injury, and a corner that was a stud, did not harken well for the Ravens this year. But we'll see what happens. Next man up. Today and tomorrow is the annual Reisterstown Festival. We are one of the only cities or towns in Maryland that still has an official festival for their town. We're also one of the oldest towns in Maryland as well, beginning, I think, becoming a town in the 1700s. So every year around this time, we have our Reisterstown Festival. We didn't have it last year, obviously, for COVID reasons. But there, it starts off with a parade. And every year for like the last, with the exception of last year, obviously, last 5 years or so, my wife and son, and then my daughter recently, have been in the parade because their scout troop is a member of the parade. So they go down the parade route. That's about a mile long down Main Street, from the top of Main Street, the middle school, to Hannah Moore Park, which is about a mile. They go down, they walk down in the parade, throwing candy and handing out flyers for the scouts. And so we did that. Started at 10 o'clock this morning. It lasted about an hour. And then the festival goes, as I said, all day today and all day tomorrow. Fireworks will be tonight. Once it gets dark, there's a beer garden. There's bands playing. There's like 8 bands that are playing during the next two days. There's food and crafts and all kinds of stuff to go up at Hannah Moore Park. So if you want something to do this weekend, check out the Reisterstown Festival. It's one of the oldest festivals in the country, and we're still going on. So that was kind of a fun day today. The parade was going on and stuff like that. So that's good. My mother has finally got her new car, thanks to my wife. Also, my wife was able to help her get a new car. Her car has been, over the last 3 or 4 years, maybe the last 3 years, has been a complete and utter wreck. It was old. She's had it for a really long time, since I think probably around the time of 9/11, probably. But she's had it for a really long time, but it's been just breaking down and is unsafe to drive, and it's freaking my mom out, as it was, but she was also freaking out about getting a new car. But eventually, thankfully, my wife came to her rescue, and they successfully got her a new car yesterday, a Ford Focus. I think it was like a 2017 Ford Focus, something like that. It's got like 74,000 miles on it. But she doesn't drive that much. She goes to the grocery store and to visit us and her family and other stuff. So that's really all she uses it for. So she doesn't really go and use it on much. She doesn't go driving every day. So I think it's going to be good for her. So she got that. So that was a good thing as well. So let's go about that. Let's cover some of the deaths we had this week. Not a lot, but we've had some big ones this week. First up, literally right after I did the show last week, this announcement came over. Michael K. Williams, star of The Wire and Lovecraft Country, died at the age of 54. He played the famous role of Omar on The Wire. He passed away at the age of 54. Michael Constantine of the My Big Fat Greek Wedding, and also, what I realized also, is also a citizen of Reading, Pennsylvania, which is where I went to college and knew a bunch of people that I knew in college from various things, died at the age of 94. So we had someone die at the age of 54, someone died at the age of 94. We had Art Metrano, who played the bad guy in Police Academy 2 and 3, died at the age of 84. So we have a 54, a 94, and an 84, pass away this week. And finally, we have Eric Cowie, zookeeper from the Tiger King show, which I never watched. I didn't get his age. Let's just say 34. I don't know if it's true or not. Let me just see if I can get his age here. Because I didn't see it on the news feed that I put. $52. Okay, so it was 52. So that ended the 4 thing. But I never watched the Tiger King thing. It never really got my attention, so I never really was that interested in it. But people who watched it, they know who that is. So those are the big deaths this week. I should have added this to the other Reisterstown stuff about our Reisterstown Library, which is historical, by the way. It's right next to our historic cemetery, and across the street from our historic school is also a historic library. It has been undergoing a massive renovation. It seems almost like a year and a half now. But September 14th, Tuesday, it will be opening up to the crowd, to the public again. I can't wait to see the new designs for it, to see if they've upgraded their book selections and stuff like that. I can't wait to see how it looks. So, and it's within walking distance where we've been going to the Owings Mills one, which you have to drive to. But this is fun that we could just cross the field and walk up the road, and there's the library. So if we want to go to the library, we can do that. So I think my daughter particularly wants to check, and so does my wife, particularly see what their manga selection looks like now. So that'll be good. So that's what's going on with that. Okay, so what else we got here? Marvel has added 4 film dates to 2024. Now, I talked about last week how they had their schedule set through 2023. So now they have 4 dates that they've solidified. This is when we're going to release our Marvel movies. And I can only think of 2 of them right now that could potentially be. I think Deadpool 3, as I mentioned last week, that they're working on that right now to bring him into the MCU. And I think because of the huge popularity of Shang-Chi, that they will be doing the sequel, would probably be coming out around that time as well. The other 2, couldn't tell you what it was. Maybe a Thunderbolts movie, because that's the whole thing with Julie Louis-Dreyfus, which she's been popping up doing. Maybe that's going to be what that's about. So we'll check that out, or something that's going. Maybe the oft-spoken about Secret War movie. We'll see. Like me though, I thought they had a Fantastic Four date for 2023. So I don't know if that's actually true or not. If not, that would probably be one that would probably be showing up in 2024 as well. So that's interesting to see what that turns out to be. One Piece, speaking of manga, One Piece is probably the longest running manga right now. It's still running, and the anime is still going strong also, because of volume 100 of One Piece came out this week and sold over 1 million copies, which is unusual for a manga. But 100 issues of a manga is absolutely insane. If you break it down to, and they don't even do it. I think actually, I believe One Piece actually came out almost 20 years ago also. So volume 100, because they only release quarterly. So it's like maybe 4 issues a year. So that would kind of make sense a little bit, I guess. But volume 100 sells over 1 million copies. Maybe it's one that hasn't come out yet. Maybe it's just when they order it that's just sold that many copies. And the 1,000th episode of One Piece, 1,000th episode of One Piece is due out in early November. So we will follow up with that as well. Some more local news. The Orioles are undergoing a homestand right now. They played Kansas City, won 2 out of 3 of that one. 2 of 4. They lost 2-1-2. They're now playing a 3-game series against the Blue Jays. They won last night, and they're playing, actually, it's a 4-game because they're playing a doubleheader today. So it's 4 games also in 3 days. But at the Orioles game the other night, a fan caught a rat that was climbing up one of the chairs with his bare hands. I was like, are you freaking insane? Bites you could get rabies and stuff. I guess someone was anxious about it, and he just wanted to ease their pain, so he grabbed it off of the chair. So that's kind of shing, but kind of scary at the same time. Dolphin brings gifts from the sea to the shore because he misses his human friends. That's kind of cute. We also kind of knew that dolphins had that sort of effect, so it's kind of interesting that that's a thing. A parrot was the key witness in a murder trial as a woman is convicted of murdering her husband. But I guess since the parrot can talk and saw stuff, she was brought up as a witness, and that's a first I've never really heard of before. A cat returns home after a night out with a bag of marijuana, much to the chagrin of his owner, a police officer. So that's kind of funny as well. A bishop famed for exorcisms leaves the church after falling in love with the writer, I can't make this up, of satanic erotic fiction. That's kind of interesting. And here's another interesting headline. Florida woman arrested after driving naked through a tense SWAT standoff on a golf cart. Florida, you're killing me, man. You're killing me. A mature reader's Superman comic may be coming soon from Mark Waid and Brian Hitch. Brian Hitch accidentally, I think, released the news before he was supposed to, but it's in the Superman, it's in the DC Black Label, which is more of a mature readers thing. And I can't even imagine how a more mature Superman comic would be, but you have Mark Waid writing it and Brian Hitch drawing it. It might be worthwhile to check out. Amazing Fantasy number 15, which was the first appearance ever of Spider-Man, has now become the most expensive comic ever after it was sold at auction for $3.6 million. Joe Bennett, who is, to me, was always a good go-to comic book artist, was always on time, could handle his deadlines good, draws perfectly. You can understand what he's drawing. There's nothing nothing terrible about his drawings. He's very clean, crisp drawer. Well, apparently he's also I think he got in trouble a while back by sneaking something into the Immortal Hulk. It was I think it was anti-Semitic thing, and at the end, when it came out about that, he apologized and said it was an accident. But now that this news story came out, I think maybe it wasn't, because Joe Bennett will no longer be working at Marvel after he finishes Immortal Hulk number 50, which is the final issue of that series, which Bennett has been the artist on, I think, pretty much since the beginning of the series, because of a cartoon he drew showing support for the fascist Brazilian governor or leader that's trying to destroy Brazil. So Marvel said, we're going to cut ties with you. We don't want anything to do with you after you finish up your Hulk stuff. They've already replaced him on a one-shot called Timeless with Greg Land, who has his own issues with people who think that his gorgeous female artwork is just tracing over regular pictures, and he just fills in the stuff. Doesn't matter to me. He still draws a sexy woman. I think I've liked him since he was working on Sojourn, so I still like Greg Land. That's just me, but I know there are people out there who just truly hate him, and whatever, it's your priority. But he's taking over for Joe Bennett's role in the one-shot Timeless, which is coming out in a little bit. I'm angry. I've been wanting to sample this ever since I heard about it. It was Thrashed Apple Mountain Dew, an apple Mountain Dew soda. Sounds absolutely enticing. It was going to come out in time for the fall. I thought, okay, this would be great. It'll be a good fall flavor to lead us into winter when they're going to finally release the Mountain Dew Ginger flavor, which I want to try as well. And then I learned this week that September 14th, Thrashed Apple's coming out. So I was like, oh, yes, that's great. Except it's only available at Kroger's. The problem, there's no freaking Kroger's in Maryland. I think Kroger's took over one of the fancy, not Lord and Taylor, but one of those two-name grocery stores. But I don't think they have Kroger's stuff in it. It's not Kroger's. It's this other grocery store. So I don't think they would have it. And then when I was checking to see if there were any local ones, they said there's one in Towson Town Center, but turns out that's just a pharmacy. I was like, where in the hell is the Kroger's pharmacy? And is it going to sell this Thrashed Apple Mountain Dew? I don't think it's going to. White Marsh has one also. Those are the closest ones to me. So I tried to look online. They said it's all sold out, whatever. So another friend of mine suggested check Amazon. So I did. Amazon had it. $20 for one 12-pack, plus $13 for shipping. Total of $33 for one 12-pack of cans Thrashed Apple Mountain Dew. I'm telling you, I am considering it because I want to try this because there's no freaking Kroger's anywhere. And I hate that the Mountain Dews and the Pepsis and the Dr. Peppers are doing all these crazy and interesting sounding flavors. I just want to try once to see how they are, but they're not releasing them to the public like I thought they would be. You've got to go through hoops to do a whole bunch of things. I would have liked to try, was it the apple pie one that they released, apple pie Dr. Pepper, I guess, that they released last year for Thanksgiving. I would have liked to try that one. The birthday cake Mountain Dew wouldn't have been a bad one to try. Same with the birthday cake Dr. Pepper. I would have liked to try those just to see if it was really too sweet or whatever. But now I can't. So I'm disappointed because I really, really wanted to try the Thrashed Apple Mountain Dew. But for those who do have a Kroger's nearby you, September 14th is when you will see the first Mountain Dew Thrashed on your shelves, lucky bastards. I also did, though, happen to see Mountain Dew Voodoo, which is their mystery flavor for Halloween they usually release. So it's going to be out through Halloween. You don't know what the flavor is. And I think one year it was like a candy corn flavor, which was absolutely delicious. I forget what the other year was something not too bad either. So I like the last two Mountain Dew Voodoos. So I was at the grocery store the other day and I saw this one in a solo bottle of it in one of the standalone freezers they have at the grocery store. So I said, hey, why not? I want to try it. So I got it home and I tried it and it was god awful. I know what the taste is, but I don't know what to call it. But the first thing I think that jumped in my mind was it's sort of like a mango pineapple sort of flavor, and it is absolutely disgusting. I do not like it. And I will not drink any more of it. And that's disappointing. So I'm disappointed right now at Mountain Dew. And hopefully Mountain Dew Ginger will actually be a wide release. I think it's supposed to be, but at this point, who knows? Birthday cake flavor. I talked about birthday cake Dr. Pepper and birthday cake Mountain Dew. Well, there's a birthday cake flavored Cool Whip now. So you can get that for your pies and cake or whatever. So knock yourself out there. Okay, page 2. What do we got? A builder discovers a bunch of gold coins worth upwards of $356,000, which they said is going to be distributed equally between everybody who is working on the site. So they will all have an equal share in that. I think it's kind of cool. So everything pumpkin spice is out and about now as we're going to crazy pumpkin spice season. And then I saw an ad for something that I'd never heard of before, but it makes a lot of sense. They now have something called eggnog spice. Now, I love eggnog, and the best spice for eggnog is nutmeg. You put that on your eggnog, and it's absolutely outstanding because I, unlike a lot of other people, don't like eggnog. I mean, I like eggnog, unlike a lot of other people. They don't like it. I like it. But now an eggnog spiced coffee. Eggnog spiced coffee. So I don't know if they're trying to make that the new pumpkin spice. I'm not sure. But will be intriguing to find out if that's what we're going to get. Chewy Chips Ahoy, which I've always liked myself too, has a new flavor out, which is stuffed with Hershey's fudge, and that'll be coming soon. So it's going to be a Hershey's fudge party in your mouth every time you bite into something. And something similar, someone posted a recipe for s'more stuffed cookies. I guess just throw some, you make cookies, but you stuff it with chocolate chip pieces and marshmallow, and you get yourself and then cook it. You get yourself a gooey s'more stuffed cookies. So that is yummy as well. Now, I talked about 9/9 from Brooklyn Nine-Nine Day and the other anniversaries going on, Star Trek Day. Well, Batman Day is coming up this weekend, 9/18, 1 week from today. So next Saturday, it is Batman Day at your local comic shops. I saw the listing. There's going to be a bunch of free Batman comic books. They're also releasing a bunch of regular Batman comics and trades to build up on this. And of course, because of, people are going to be pushing Batman Day, the comic stores will probably be bulking up their Batman trade collection. So being a Batman fan, go ahead and knock yourself off. That's the weekend that the kids are on camping. Maybe I'll pop in the original 1989 Michael Keaton Batman for Batman Day to watch that. Harrison Ford declares that Mosquito Coast is his best role. Now, I've never seen it, and I was never intrigued, excited enough to see, but it happened early on in his career, right after he did Raiders, I think. So he'd already done Han Solo for 2 movies, and he did Indiana Jones for 1, and he wanted to try something different. So he did this dramatic movie called The Mosquito Coast with a young River Phoenix, who I think, if he wouldn't have died, would be one of our top actors of all time right now. But I digress. But it's got me enough that I'm intrigued to kind of check it out. From what I recall, it was not a huge hit, and it did not get a lot of nominations. Let's see if it did get any. Let's see what Mosquito Coast got anything. Mosquito Coast. Film. It was a 1986 film by Peter Weir. Okay. So it was a little bit older. So he had done his Han Solo and his Indiana Jones a couple times. Stars Harrison Ford, Helen Mirren, Andre Gregory, River Phoenix, based on a novel, the same thing. Filmed in Cartersville, Rome, and Georgia, in addition to Baltimore, Maryland, and Belize. Let's see if it won any awards. So, the famous Conrad Roberts, Martha Plimpton, Dick O'Neill, Jason Alexander, Butterfly McQueen were all in it as well. It was 1986. I didn't think it was... It's 76% on Rotten Tomatoes based on 21 reviews. Siskel and Ebert gave it 2 thumbs up. No, I'm sorry. Siskel gave the film a thumbs up. Ebert gave it a thumbs down. Let's see. Did it make any? Looks like it did not get any awards. With a production budget of $25 million, the film made little over $14 million in North America, despite being one of his least commercially successful films. Ford has defended, saying in a 1992 interview, "It's the only film I have done that hasn't made its money back. I'm still glad I did it. There was a fault with the film. It was that it didn't fully enough embrace the language of the book. It may have more probably been a literary rather than a cinematic exercise, but I think it's full of powerful emotions." And he has now just gone on record also as saying it is his favorite role he's ever done, even beating Indiana Jones and, well, we didn't like Han Solo anyway. But there you go. So that's one I might want to check out eventually. Nicolas Cage is finally going to make a Western. It's a movie called The Old Way. Haven't heard much more about it than that, but we should probably look for that probably sometime next year. The Secret of Nem was an animated film from the early 80s that freaked out a lot of people because it was the anti-Disney. And Don Bluth, who was the guy who did Secret of Nem, was a former Disney artist who stepped out on his own, did the underrated Anastasia, All Dogs Go to Heaven, and American Tail, stuff like that. He's done all those. But Secret of Nem was the first one he ever did based on the book, and it did fairly well. But now there is now a new Secret of Nem TV series in the works right now, so we'll probably be hearing more about that as more and more stuff comes out about that. Probably sometime next year, we'll see a lot more about that. But it is now currently in the works, so we will get more info when it is available to us. We are now entering that period now of the Burr months, September, October, November, December, also known as my favorite time of the year. And one of the reasons why is Thanksgiving. Now, I've done a show before how I talked about how much Thanksgiving is underrated, and how I even did a whole top 10 list with my friend Jerry. We used to do top 10 lists about what made Thanksgiving great. Well, one of the things that made Thanksgiving great was the Macy's Thanksgiving Day Parade. Last year, due to the COVID crisis, they did not have really kind of like a live sort of Macy's Day Parade. It was kind of a weird amalgam of a bunch of different things. This year, everything is going to be back to normal. It's going to be live. It's going to be people will be able to go along the route and watch it. And Santa Claus will be there and all that stuff. So it's going to be the whole thing is coming back, which is fantastic to hear that Macy's Thanksgiving Day Parade is coming back. The Peacock's been busy. David Tennant and his wife Georgia are teaming up to do a Jekyll and Hyde thriller called Hyde, H-I-D-E, for the Peacock Network, which is slowly becoming impressive. It just announced this week that they will simultaneously, what's the film they're going to simultaneously release? There's one that's coming out in movie theaters, and you can simultaneously stream it on the Peacock also. I can't think of it right now, but they just announced that's going to happen this week as well. But the Peacock is going to have this new film coming with the married couple of David and Georgia Tennant, and a Jekyll and Hyde sort of thriller story, so that'd be interesting. The Peacock also has a new game show based on the video game Frogger, which I honestly cannot see how they're going to do it, but it looks like they've got like animatronic crocodiles that you have to jump on and all. I don't know. I guess they're going to try to make it as much like the game as they can. So they'll do that. So that should be good. So it is making a case for itself. A new strip club in Hagerstown, Maryland, is offering a family night where kids can eat for 50% off. Hey, honey, let's go to the strip club. Let's take the kids with us. They get 50% off of their dinner. And they get to see titties. That's just whatever. And the great casting for the week, Morgan Freeman, Al Pacino, Helen Mirren, and Danny DeVito will be starring in a retirement home film noir called Sniff. That cast alone is worth it, and the fact that it's set in the retirement home and it's a film noir with Helen Mirren playing the femme fatale. That's funny as hell. I want to see that. So that just announced. So again, probably won't be out till next year, but still definitely be worth catching sometime. And the Haunted Mansion reboot gets Owen Wilson. And I think there's somebody else who was cast in that this week that I can't think of her name right now. It's driving me crazy. So let's just check this in real quick. Haunted Mansion. So the reboot of it is coming. No, not that one. I need the other Haunted Mansion. Rosario Dawson has also been cast. That's what it is. She was the other one. So let me write that on here. Owen Wilson and Rosario Dawson. Tiffany Haddish is in it as well. So that's going to be an intriguing film as well. Now, Muppets are doing their own version of the Haunted Mansion as well. That's due out October 8th. There it is, October 8th on Disney Plus, because Disney Plus revealed their Halloween schedule, and that includes the Muppet Haunted Mansion. Now, this Haunted Mansion with Owen Wilson and Rosario Dawson and Tiffany Haddish is a live-action remake of the 2003 film with Eddie Murphy. That'll be coming out probably next Halloween. So we'll keep an eye on that. But the Muppets Haunted Mansion will be coming out October 8th on Disney Plus. And on top of that, last year, Disney Plus aired a Lego, Star Wars Christmas show, making fun of the infamous Christmas show from the 70s. They made their own Lego version of it. Well, they're going back to the well again for a Halloween Lego Star Wars special coming October 1st to Disney Plus. So if you like the Christmas special back in December, you'll probably want to check out the new Halloween one as well. Netflix released some trailers this week. One was for On the Verge, which is a series about middle-aged women. That's caught my eye was two of the stars of it. Julie Delpy from the Before trilogy and Elizabeth Shue are two of the cast members of this. It's basically just middle-aged women going through crises and stuff like that. So I heard it's pretty good. I've never seen a single episode of this, but I'm always intrigued by it because of the content and the cast of it. Sex Education, which is on Netflix also, is entering its third season. They released a trailer for the third season. I remember watching the Sex Education Season 2 trailer and the first season trailer. I just never sat down and watched any of the shows. Maybe this weekend coming up when the kids and my wife are on camping, maybe I will check out the first season of Sex Education. We'll see. Netflix is also considering developing a live-action Pokemon movie to go with their other manga and anime films. Now, we already had Detective Pikachu. This one, I'd assume, would be more along the lines of, Ash Ketchum and that type of stuff, and not like Detective Pikachu. Speaking of Pokemon, Oreo has released a limited edition Pokemon cookies that have 16 different designs. Basically, the chocolate outside cookie has a different Pokemon carved into it. So I have to check that out and find that for myself. Getting back to Netflix. Actually, I don't know if it's Netflix. There is a True Lies TV series coming out based on the James Cameron, Arnold Schwarzenegger, Jamie Lee Curtis movie. And they found its star, Steve Howey, who I've never seen before. He's on a show called Shameless. So he's been cast in the lead as that. Also on Netflix, I've never been the biggest Jake Gyllenhaal fan, but I saw the trailer of this and it looks intriguing. It's called The Guilty. It's a movie that is going to air on Netflix starting October 1st, starring Jake Gyllenhaal as a 911 operator who gets too involved in one of his cases, this of a woman who has been kidnapped and her daughter is being threatened with murder, and he's going to try to help save her and protect her. So that should be interesting to see that. Speaking of Pokemon Krispy Kreme donuts are going to be coming soon. Again, the glaze of the donuts has Pokemon faces on it. So for Pokemon fans, it's going to be a good day for sweet treats. A 6-month-old baby had a video go viral when, I guess, just for laughs, the baby's parents gave the baby a video game controller because someone was playing the game Warzone, and the baby was able to knock off an insane snipe. And it was videotaped, so you actually see the snipe that the baby did. So, star million, I'd say. Oh, a house made in New York City that was made of shipping containers. Now, the big, giant containers full of stock from overseas that are as big as buildings themselves. A house that was made out of that sold in New York City for $5 million. And you're just living in shipping containers. Okay, then. The U.S. Navy is developing a weapon that could make it impossible to speak, and that's on the headline of, I guess if you can't speak, what? Not sure. A little bit closer to home, no one knows exactly how this happened. They're assuming it was from a personal collection or a zoo or something, but zebras were spotted in Prince George's County, which is a county right near Washington, D.C. here in Maryland. So they were spotted. Some people don't know how they got out, where they came from or whatever, but they have been spotted running around in Prince George's County, which is literally not that far away from here. So, hey, come on up here, zebras. It'd be great. It'd be a blast. I was talking about anniversaries and stuff. Another anniversary that happens this week, or rather I should say probably this year, is the 25th anniversary of Blue's Clues. Now, you remember 25 years ago, that would be what, it was 2001 was 20, so 1996 was when Blue's Clues first came out. Obviously, I was 23 years old, so I was too old to watch it, but when I had kids, Nick Jr. showed it all the time, so we watched Blue's Clues a lot. I think my kids had like a Blue's Clues cake one year, and they really liked Blue's Clues, so I watched it a lot as growing up with my young kids. But the original host, Steve, who left to go, memorably left to go to college halfway through the series run, came back on in the week of his 25th anniversary and delivered an amazingly poignant remembrance and speech to the fellow viewers of Blue's Clues, and how he's sorry that he's lost track of you over 25 years. And it's just one of the, if you got it, it's hard to, you just have to find it out for yourself. Find it for yourself, watch it on YouTube, whatever. It is absolutely almost, enough to bring tears to your eyes. That's how sweet it is and how awesome it is. So good on that. Only got a few more things to go for this week's episode, and then we move on to the remaining stuff. September 9th, 1996 was also the 25th anniversary release of REM's Adventures in Hi-Fi, which to me is a underrated album. Now remember, REM is my favorite band. You all know that. But REM became truly huge in 1991 with the release of Out of Time. And they followed up with the 1992, I think, release of Automatic for the People, which gave it a 1-2 punch of two of the greatest albums of the 1990s. And they became huge stars. Their concerts sold out. They were the biggest stars in the music world for a period of about a year and a half. They were selling out concerts. They won awards, all that type of stuff. Then they went and did Monster, which was a change of pace from Out of Time and Automatic for the People. And I think that sort of took people by surprise, because they were expecting more along the lines of Automatic for the People and Out of Time, which are very similar in musical stylings. Whereas Monster became a completely different animal, and I think it turned off a lot of the fans, and it started the downward slide of REM. That and the disastrous Monster concert, which I've talked about multiple times, which is one of the most debilitating concerts ever for the band. But at the same time, while they were on the road for over a year for the Monster concert, they recorded this album. And this album is much more closer to Automatic and Out of Time, but it also has that edge from Monster. And it's sort of the perfect pairing of the two styles of music that REM is most famous for. And it did okay, but it was not selling as well as Monster and Out of Time and Automatic. So it did okay, but it started the downward spiral. It also was the last album featuring the OG REM, as Bill Berry, the drummer, decided he was going to leave after the disastrous Monster concert. He said he had enough, he was done, and he wanted to move on. And so REM had the choice of either breaking up after New Adventures in Hi-Fi, which would have been fine because it would have been a great coda to their band. And they had always said also that they were going to play one last concert on December 31st, 1999, and then break up in 2000. But that was before Bill Berry left early. And Bill Berry said, "You do what you want to do. I'm leaving." So the rest of REM, Peter, Mike, and Mike, they sat down, they talked about it, and they said, let's keep on going for a little while longer. That and the fact that Warner Brothers gave them a nice contract, and they released about 3 or 4 more albums. I think 4 more albums. Yeah, Up, the summer album, Accelerate. No, Around the Sun. They did 5 more albums after that, and then they called it a day. Bill Berry came back when they were inducted to the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame and played some concert with them, but he has never, rejoined the band or has done an album with them since this album right here. It is a very well received album. It's not one of my it's not one where I can play every song in a row and I like all of them, but it was one of those albums that when I first heard it, there were only a few songs I really, really liked. But on constant replay, I actually discovered I liked a lot more than I thought I did, including ones that I thought were absolutely trash before I actually kind of like now. But there's still some that are not my forte, but it would have been a nice coda to REM if they would have decided they were going to break up after Bill said he was going to leave, because the last song on the album, it's not Low Desert, that's the penultimate one. Let's see the track listings. Yeah, Electrolyte was a perfect sort of end song. If you were going to stop being a band, it was the absolute sort of perfect, hey, we're done. This is our last song we're ever going to do. I really liked it. But How West was one. I'm just going to read you the track list. How West was one, and I forget the rest of it. It's not my favorite. It's okay. It's one of those that I liked a little bit more, but it's one I still try to skip because Wake Up Bomb, which is the second one, is a great rocker. New Test Leper is a good song, but it's just way too long. So I sometimes sort of skip that. Undertow is not one of my favorites, so I just sort of usually skip that one also. Ebo the Letter was the first single from this one and features Patti Smythe on backup vocals. It's excellent. Leave is okay. It's also really long, 7 minutes, but from what I recall, it's one of those that I liked more the more I heard about it. Departure, again, don't remember much about it because Bittersweet Me is my favorite song from the album. It's the one I played at the beginning of this show. Be Mine, not a big fan of. Binky the Doormat's an interesting song. Zither is one of their no lyrics ones, which is okay. So Fast, So Numb is a great combo with Bittersweet Me. Low Desert's fantastic, and Electrolyte's great also. But it would have been a brilliant coda to their career if that's how you ended it. But they decided to move on without Bill, which is fine. It's up to them. A Butterbeer Blizzard is available on the Dairy Queen secret menu. So if you want to get a Butterbeer Blizzard, just ask for it. It's on their secret menu. I don't know exactly how it's made, but if you want a Butterbeer Blizzard, you can get one. Michael Palin, I talked about him, I think, last week because I finished his one of his diary books. He wrote a play in 1994 that was well received, and then he was asked, hey, do you want to adapt your stage play into an opera? And because Palin being Palin said, hell yeah, I'll do that. So his 1994 play, I think it's called The Roommate, has now been adapted into, of all things, an opera. That's great. And finally, to end the season, or end tonight's episode on a football note, since football starts, well, start officially on Thursday, but the first Sunday of the NFL season is tomorrow. Ravens tight end Mark Andrews, who is the only Ravens who is currently on the team right now, whose jersey I own, has signed a contract extension for 4 more years for $56 million. So I will be able to wear his jersey for at least the next 4 years. All right, y'all, that's it I have for you right now on the solemn 20th anniversary of 9/11. Never forget what happened. And I'm just writing some down here. Just a note for next week's episode. Have a good week. We still got one more day left in the weekend, and it's only 5:20 right now, so we still got some time left in Saturday for you. And yeah, have a great weekend and a great week. Said a lot of stuff happening this week. I told you a little bit about it. And then next weekend, I will probably be doing the show again because my family will be gone camping, and I will be able to do another solo one, maybe upstairs, because with the new computer now, I can actually take it upstairs and not worry about anything happening to it. So I might be taking it upstairs. I might be doing it live from the kitchen. So we'll see. Thanks, guys, for watching, and you all have a great rest of your day. And again, as I said, remember, never forget,